There is a secret that the history of American passenger cars often forgets. A symbol once praised as the first-class cabin on the ground. A car so luxurious that people called it the Eagle of America. And then, almost in silence, it disappeared from the highways as if it had never existed. The question is, why was such a masterpiece erased without explanation? To understand why the legendary Eagle was born, we need to go back to the moment of the American passenger bus industry in the 1950s. The time when long-distance travel by bus was not a cheap or looked down upon option. It was a symbol of comfort and public sophistication. Families dressed neatly, boarded a Greyhound, and traveled across America on weekends. That was once a proud image of the middle class. And Greyhound, the largest empire, had just launched a weapon that made every eye turn: the Scenicruiser. The 40-foot double-decker coach developed by General Motors, futuristic in appearance, larger, more luxurious, and more modern than any vehicle of its time. It not only amazed passengers, but also attracted the attention of Greyhound's biggest competitor, Continental Trailways. CEO Maurice E. Moore understood that better than anyone. He knew he could not stand by and watch his rival dominate. Continental needed a symbolic model, a true flagship. Therefore, Moore began searching for someone who could turn that ambition into reality. They turned to Flexible, a renowned bus manufacturer in Ohio, a direct competitor of GM. Flexible agreed to design and build the dream coach for Continental, but on one condition: all design and tooling costs had to be paid up front. For a company that had just gone through major acquisitions and was running low on cash flow, this was too great an obstacle. Continental had the idea, the vision, but not the resources. The deal collapsed, and the dream that had not yet taken shape on American soil was halted. But that failure opened another door. Moore turned to Europe, where the commercial vehicle market was vibrant at the time, but buses accounted for only about 10% of demand. Here, manufacturers had to use truck chassis to build buses, resulting in twisting vibrations, body deformation, and cracked glass over time. The European bus industry was stuck in the very structure of its own foundation. And that very deadlock created a revolution. Kessbohrer, a German manufacturer, introduced the self-supporting structure, no longer dependent on a truck chassis. Lighter, stronger, smoother, with a rear-mounted engine and independent suspension. A completely different design philosophy. They called it Selbsttragen, self-carrying. Shortened into a name the world would later remember: Setra. Moore saw the future right there, not in Detroit, but in Ulm, Germany. And he understood. To compete with the Scenicruiser, Continental needed technology ahead of its time. Without hesitation, the CEO of Continental Trailways, Maurice Moore, decided to sign a contract with Kessbohrer. A bold, controversial decision, and one that would change the history of American buses forever. In 1956, after months of collaboration, the first prototype bus developed in cooperation between Continental Trailways in the United States and CPO from the German bus manufacturer rolled off the assembly line and was shipped to Houston, Texas for testing. People did not call it a bus. They called it the Golden Eagle. The Golden Eagle was 40 feet long, 96 inches wide, and over 11 feet tall, sleek in form, with large observation windows and lines breathing the spirit of the future. Beneath the engine compartment was a rear-mounted MAN-D 566 unit paired with a 6-speed ZF pre-selector transmission, refined, smooth, and ambitious European engineering. But it was inside that the Golden Eagle delivered the real shock. The interior cabin was nothing less than a business-class cabin on wheels, thickly upholstered seats, airy space, and a wide-open view through large windows. At the rear was a luxurious lounge with two large tables and facing seats by the panoramic windows, where passengers could sip coffee, read newspapers, and watch the Texas fields glide by like paintings. A proper airline-style galley stood nearby, where an attendant, yes, the bus had its own attendant, served snacks, drinks, newspapers, blankets, and pillows. For passengers of the 1950s, it was a vacation on wheels. In 1957, after about a year of operation, Continental Trailways officially made a bold decision to put the Golden Eagle into mass production. A contract for 126 units was signed, and the production line began with the first 55 coaches. The first commercial Golden Eagles rolled out with pride. Passengers marveled. The press took note. But behind that glory, actual operation began to reveal the flaws that the short testing phase had not yet uncovered. The first problem appeared where no one expected it: the driver's compartment. The beautifully curved bubble windshield, designed to enhance visibility, caused the Texas sun to shine directly onto the driver's seat. The air conditioning of the time was not strong enough to resist the fierce southern heat. Many drivers described the feeling as driving inside a glass oven. Shirts drenched, sweat streaming, lips cracking after hours at the wheel. Without hesitation, Continental decided to fix it immediately. The curved glass was replaced with a vertical, forward-positioned windshield, optimizing sun protection while maintaining the car's elegant look. A seemingly small detail, but a reminder that to create a legend, perfection must begin at the driver's seat. During this period, besides the modifications made to the first batch of passenger coaches, Continental also ordered 4 articulated 60-foot versions of the Golden Eagle, equipped with more powerful Rolls-Royce diesel engines, which they named the Super Golden Eagle. By 1958, after a period of real-world operation with the Golden Eagle fleet, Continental Trailways had gathered enough data and experience to evaluate the new model's efficiency. The first trips were a success, and Continental decided to expand further. At the end of that year, the company ordered 41 more units. However, this batch brought an important change. Instead of maintaining the luxurious configuration of the Golden Eagle, Continental chose a more practical direction. The new vehicles were named Silver Eagle. The most visible difference from the outside was the use of silver-colored aluminum panels, replacing the golden finish of the original version. Apart from that aesthetic detail, the overall exterior appearance of the Silver Eagle changed little from the Golden Eagle. The real difference lay inside the passenger compartment. The Silver Eagle removed the airline-style galley and facing tables that had been the highlight of the Golden Eagle. Instead, all seats were arranged facing forward, similar to the layout of modern commercial coaches. The new interior design was more practical, easier to operate, and better suited to the needs of most long-distance passengers. This configuration quickly became the fleet standard for Continental by 1959. Meanwhile, in Europe, Kessbora, the manufacturing partner for the Eagle, began to face increasing domestic demand for buses. By the time planning began for the next series of 85 Silver Eagles scheduled for 1960, Kessbora had to make a strategic decision: to discontinue Eagle production and focus resources on the European market. This announcement marked a major turning point, forcing Continental to find its own production path for the future of the Eagle line. Therefore, Continental decided to purchase all the designs, tools, molds, and production rights for the Eagle. At the same time, The company established a plant in Belgium named Bus and Car Incorporated. In 1961, the first Eagle Model 1 units were produced under the direct control of Continental Trailways. The overall design of Model 1 retained the characteristic rounded structure but introduced new identifying features such as a wraparound mesh grille at the front, a detail that continued to appear until 1969. During production, Model 1 underwent minor improvements. A higher roof on the 1963 version, the addition of air parking brakes and new engine vents in 1964, and decorative trim and lightning stripes raised to window level from 1965. Model 1 was built until mid-1968. In 1967, Continental tested a Model 2 prototype, a 40-foot two-axle configuration with a 102-inch wide body, wider than the 96-inch standard of earlier models. However, only one was built. Subsequent models returned to the 96-inch width. Between 1966 and 1971, Eagle produced the Model 4 for European and North African customers, with more than 100 units built. By 1968, the Model 5 appeared, still using the Model 1 body, but with internal changes. The tag axle was moved forward of the drive axle, bogie axle, and the luggage compartment changed from 4 small doors to 3 larger ones. During this period, 3 special Eagle Model 5 coaches were fitted with 4 Ford gas turbine engines, producing 450 to 600 horsepower. But the experiment was quickly abandoned due to fuel consumption of only about 4 miles per gallon and low reliability. These vehicles were later converted to standard Detroit diesel 8V71 engines. From then on, the square-bodied Model 5 was known as the New Look Eagle, while the earlier rounded versions were called the Round Eagle. In 1970, Eagle introduced the Model 7, effectively the first 102-inch commercial version in the Eagle line, with 45 units built exclusively for Continental Trailways. In 1972, the Model 9 was developed for the South African Railways, 35 feet long but still with 3 axles, later adapted for markets in Australia, Canada, Thailand, and several other European countries. By 1977, in order to optimize costs and meet the scale of the American market, Eagle's production was transferred from Belgium to the United States, located in Brownsville, Texas. This decision marked the end of the European production phase and the beginning of the era in which Eagle became a purely American product, both in technology and manufacturing. In 1980, the Brownsville plant introduced the Model 10, one of Eagle's most successful lines. Produced until 1987, with more than 2,200 units rolling off the line. The Model 10 quickly became the main choice for many national and private coach operators. During this period, Eagle continued to expand production by establishing another plant in Harlingen, Texas, and launching a special 2-axle version, the Model 10 Suburban, although its production numbers were quite limited due to axle load restrictions. In 1985, Eagle introduced the Model 15, marking a new step forward in design and engineering with a 102-inch wide body, aerodynamically sloped roofline, and optional lengths up to 45 feet, aligning with the trend toward higher passenger capacity and longer range. By 1987, an upgraded variant of this model was introduced under the name Model 20. However, once again, Eagle returned to the 96-inch body width for some versions, reflecting efforts to balance market demand with varying regional operational regulations. That same year, 1987, a significant event occurred. Greyhound lines took over Continental Trailways, meaning that the Eagle brand operated for the first time under the Greyhound banner. This was a major turning point. Although initially expected to strengthen market share and financial capacity, the merger took place amid fierce competition, changing economic conditions and rising operational costs. Only 3 years later, in June 1990, Greyhound declared bankruptcy. The direct consequence was that, although Eagle had successfully sold 341 Model 15 units, production ceased at the end of December 1990, closing the golden era of a line once considered the pride of American transportation. In the early 1990s, several efforts were made to revive Eagle production, including plans targeting the Mexican market, where demand for long-distance coaches was still growing. Some Eagle units were reassembled in Mexico, using remaining manufacturing tools and equipment, but the number of vehicles produced was very small, and the quality did not meet expectations. These market expansion plans soon faced difficulties due to lack of capital, limited infrastructure, and increasing competition from more modern manufacturers. By the mid-2000s, a final attempt named Silver Eagle Bus Manufacturing Inc. was launched in Brownsville, Texas, utilizing equipment left over from the Mexico program. This company not only tried to continue assembling the Eagle Model 15 and Model 20, but also developed a new version called the Model 25, featuring a 102-inch wide body and optional lengths of 40 or 45 feet. However, the Model 25 was not certified as a federal passenger coach, and only a single unit was sold. Lacking capital and unable to maintain financial stability, Silver Eagle Bus Manufacturing ended operations after a very short period. If you've ever seen an Eagle glide through your town, if you've ever sat behind its tall windows, heard the steady hum of its engine, and felt the road unfolding endlessly ahead, or simply remember a time when long-distance bus travel carried more freedom than fatigue, share your story below. Have you ever ridden on a golden eagle or a silver eagle? Do you still keep an old ticket, a faded photograph in a family album, or just a fleeting memory from the highway? We want to hear them all. Hit like if you believe the journey of the Eagle deserves to be remembered. Subscribe if you love stories of American transportation, engineering, and mechanical heritage. Let's keep the sound of this Eagle alive forever.